And I know you're probably like, girl, you own it. So of course you're gonna give your own stuff the respect that you want. This is phase 1, episode 5, from iconic fashion figure point of view. Episode 5 is how I chose my manufacturer for spring summer 2026 collection. This is in the making, season 26. 1 collection, 2 perspectives, every detail. Every designer faces this moment when it's time to hand over their work and it's time to trust someone else to bring their vision to life. Just hear me out on this before you think I'm about to sell you on my factory, because I'm not. I truly want to help you find the right factory for you. For season 2026, I chose a manufacturer that I knew could meet the vision. I chose Riche. And not just because it's mine, I know that's the easy answer, but because Riche is built on everything that I've been searching for since the very beginning. It's everything that I needed as a designer. It is time. It is finally at that point where I get to start telling you more about Riche. Although I'm not supposed to really talk about Riche on this channel, but I want to give you a little bit of the inside scoop as a brand that will be working with Riche. Riche is a factory that's an all-in-one. It has everything that I need. I can do all my fabrics there. I can do my production there. My tech packs can be done there. I mean, I've hired staff that I use to create my tech packs, but honestly, if I needed to, I can eliminate that and allow Riche to create them. They can even do my sketches for me. They have the printing services that I need. They have fulfillment services that I need. Even they'll do the drop shipping for me. If you work with Nouveau Riche Apparel, you know that Nouveau Riche Apparel does drop shipping too. But honestly, I can hand that over to Riche as well to handle. It takes a lot off of my plate at Nouveau Riche Apparel because Riche can handle a lot of it. Riche offers branding services. I've hired my own brand manager. I can technically just allow Riche to do it now. Riche takes so much off of my plate. Riche has a lot of services too that are really good for beginners because I know they really want to focus on working on beginners. So there's services there like helping you get your business set up. There's even virtual business addresses there that you'll be able to use to get your business set up properly. Riche has services that even after production, there are services that'll help you with like your sales and marketing so that way you can actually promote and sell your products. There's so many services there, which is what I love about Riche because I can do it all in one place. I don't have to keep searching for all these different places or all these different employees. I can do it under one roof. That's why they call themselves the ultimate creation hub. Choosing the right manufacturer is one of the most important decisions you'll make as a designer because you're not just looking for someone that can sew. You're really looking for someone who truly understands fashion, production, and even partnership. So my advice to you, if you're looking for a factory, make sure you look for a factory that communicates clearly, respects the creative process, because trust me, some of them don't understand the creative side of things. A factory that offers the support that you truly need, and most importantly, they can deliver quality and do it on time. So that you can trust me and know that I'm truly not trying to just sell you on Riche, which is the factory that I own. I'm going to tell you just from my experience prior to Riche when I was looking for factories and what I had to look for. So one of those things you have to look for is that communication. There's some factories that would take weeks to reply. There's some that would reply and you would get short answers where it felt like you weren't getting the answers to the questions that you're requesting. There were factories that didn't update you in the process, so it's like you would hand over that work, you may even send them money so you're paying for their services and then you don't hear from them again. It's not necessarily that they ran off on you, it's just because they don't provide the updates during the process. It's like you pay them and then a package just shows up at your door, which may not be comfortable for someone for their first time working with a factory. So the communication is really important from very beginning to very end. Even at the very beginning for that very first meeting, like it's always said, first impression is everything. So if I meet you and I feel like you're kind of standoffish, you seem like you don't really want to speak with me, I'm already in my mind thinking, okay, they don't trust me, they probably don't think that I'm serious, or at the time when I'm new, they know that I'm new, so so they probably don't want to work with new brands. They want to work with more seasoned businesses, because there are a lot of them out there that focus more on the big names and the big corporations, and they forget about the smaller brands or the up and coming brands. So that communication is important. If I don't feel the communication right from the very beginning, I'm already Xing you out. And when it comes to the creative process, make sure they're willing to think outside the box, because there are some factories that are used to just producing the basics, producing the same things over and over again. Sometimes that can be because they already have the patterns, they don't want to create the patterns. Sometimes it's because they just don't see anything other than the basics, because that's all they know how to create. So make sure, especially if you are a designer that is like avant-garde, or you get very creative, you want to go against the grain, you want to try different things, you have to find that right factory for you, because not every single one of them are going to create what it is that you are trying to design. They're going to nitpick your designs and tell you that this is not possible, that you can't do this. And in the world we're living in right now with AI and a lot of things that are created by AI, they might look at it and tell you immediately, like, this is AI, I can't produce this, because when it comes to AI images, they're going to tell you that right off the bat. But you have to make it known that, no, this is your design. You have to be confident in your design and explain your thought process. So even if maybe your sketch or your tech pack doesn't portray exactly what it is you're looking for, make sure you have a factory that's willing to work with you to make it actually work. So if there's something about it that they don't see that could work, make sure they explain to you why, and then let's figure out how to make it work. You're going to look for other solutions. That's the point of the partnership, to work together. And make sure you're getting the support you need, especially for my new brands, because in the beginning, you're still learning. And even after years, there's always things to learn. This is an industry that's always evolving. It's not always staying the same. So you have to make sure they're supporting you in your process as you're learning. Their factory will change. Technology is changing, so their machines will change. Their capabilities will change. The economy is changing, so their staffing may change. You never know the changes that are going on the back end. So transparency is key too there, but make sure they also support you and your needs along the way. You'll really have to work together, and when you find the right factory, you will see that you are true partners, so they will support you just as you will support them too. And lastly, make sure you're getting the quality you need. We live in a world where fast fashion was everything. Everyone wanted fast fashion because it was more about the trends. I can tell you right now, fast fashion is slowly going out the door, and that is changing because people want more quality items. People want things that's going to last and not only be able to wear it a couple of times and then you have to discard of it. People are focusing on sustainability because of all this fast fashion that's just being thrown out. We're destroying the earth. So we need to focus more on that sustainability. So make sure you're finding one that meets your needs when it comes to quality. There are still some brands that want to focus on the trends and they're focused on fast fashion. I'm not speaking negatively on your brand at all. I've done fast fashion too. But then there are some brands that are in the middle that want better quality but are also still focusing on the price point. There are some that pricing doesn't matter and high quality is everything for them. So you figure out where you are on the spectrum and make sure your factory can support that. Also be careful of the ones that will tell you they can do it and then they don't deliver. That's why sampling is important. You want to make sure they can actually live up to what they say that they can do before you jump into production. And that's usually with like high sample costs. If the samples are expensive, some people might skip out on it to save that money and then go into production. You don't want to be disappointed when your bulk comes out and it's not the quality you expected. Focus on all those things when it comes to finding your factory. If you feel like one of them can't live up to what it is that you're looking for, look for the next one. There are options out there. Riche was created to be that kind of factory that I wish I had access to when I first started out. Basically a space where emerging designers can feel seen, to be supported, and to be taken seriously. For season 26, I needed more than just machines. I needed intention, detail, care, and I trust Riche to give my collection the same level of respect that I gave it when I designed it. And I know you're probably like, girl, you own it, so of course you're gonna give your own stuff the respect that you want. But while I own it, there's still other people running it. So it's still like me giving them the trust to do this, especially since I'm coming from factories that have been seasoned and have been doing this for years, decades, and now I'm turning handing that all over to new hands, my hands, which are new too at owning a factory. And I'm trusting that this is going to turn out right and that my spring summer collection is not going to be a complete fail because my factory wasn't right or I didn't choose the right team. Like, just like anyone else that is going to work with a new factory, I still have to think about those things too, even though I own it, because I'm not perfect. I can make mistakes too. It can be a complete fail in the beginning, and then that can also jeopardize my other business. So I'm taking a risk here as well by putting my collection in the hands of a new factory. Boy, am I really taking a risk here, and especially after taking a break, I don't know that I'm ready for that risk. I'm doing it anyway, but it's a huge risk. I mean, I've been doing this for years, even before owning my own brand. I've done this working with other brands, so I've worked with factories for years, but I've never owned my own factory. This is the first time that I'm doing this, and I am taking my brand that I worked so hard to build, that I put so much time, effort into, that I've made so many sacrifices for, and I'm putting it in the hands of a new company, which is of course mine. But that feeling that I'll feel if I ruin my own brand with my other brand, that's gonna hurt deep. It's different than if I trusted another factory and they messed up my stuff. That's a little different, you know. I'll be upset about it, but then I'll just go find someone else. But if I mess up my own stuff, it's like I have two failures that I'm facing, and that's gonna hurt. But you know, I'll get past it. Plus, I'm trying not to put that negativity in my head, because I know I'm very much capable of doing this. Like I said, I've done it for years. I've experienced this time and time again. I personally know how to sew and to produce, so I know I can do this. I don't care if I gotta get behind the sewing machines myself and create it myself. If I gotta go do my own patterns, I'll go do what I need to do. So I know I'm gonna be okay. But it's still that thought in the back of your mind when you're starting something new, and you always start thinking all those what if scenarios, and you always start thinking of all the possible negative things. I'm having those thoughts. I'm just like you. I'm no different than you. I have those thoughts too, of worrying about failing, worried about messing up, worried about losing the money that I invested or the time I invested. So that's why I tried to tell you that I understand where you're coming from. I'm no different than you. I experienced those same things, so I understand what you're going through. So I've experienced that, but I know no risk, no reward. So I'm taking the risk. Now, when it comes to that risk, it is still nerve-wracking because of me just taking this break that I took in 2024. It's already like I'm trying to make up for that, even though I've learned to take the loss from that. I feel like still in the back of my mind, I'm trying to make up that loss that I took that year. So that's one thing. Two, for my spring collection for 2025, I did that really small because I wanted to focus on Riche Stitch. I knew I needed to start making that transition too, from importing to producing my stuff domestically. So my spring summer 2025 was really small, which means a loss essentially, because I usually go much heavier. Then for fall winter 2025, originally I decided that I wasn't going to produce a collection at all, because as I'm working on Riche Stitch, and of course those hurdles are coming about, I've now kind of pivoted to actually creating a small capsule for fall winter, especially since that's my bigger season. So I'm taking a huge loss if I do nothing. So I've decided to pivot and do something small, but still nothing compared to what I usually do. So it's still a loss for me, just not a total loss. And at the same time, I'm still trying to work on Riche Stitch. So this is all a risk, because basically my last 2 years, 2024 and 2025, are relying heavily on my spring summer 2026 collection. Season 2026 has to be a huge hit, otherwise it'll be another loss for me, and it's gonna hurt. So this is all a huge risk for me to take the spring summer 2026 collection and hand it over to Riche Stitch to do. Can easily give that to my seasoned factories that I've been working with for years to make sure it's done right, so I can make my money back and then switch, which of course I've thought of that, but I prefer to take the risk. So I'm taking that risk. I'm trusting myself because I know I'm capable of it. I'm casting out all doubt. It's not true. I can do it. I know I'm capable of it. I've been doing it for years, since I was 20 years old, working for different brands. I am now in my 30s. So I've been doing this for over a decade. If I can do it for other brands, I can do it for my brand. I can do it for Rich Stitch too. So I know I'm good. I know I just have to let go of that fear, and that's something that I want you new brands, or even any of you that are expanding your brand, to cast out that doubt, to cast out the fear, the worry, the anxiety. Rebuke it all, get it out of your head. Remember who you are, focus on your capabilities, and remember that you were given this opportunity for a reason, so don't let the fear take over. So I'm trusting myself. I'm trusting the staff that I hired to produce it, because I know season 2026 is going to be a hit. Handing over a collection to a factory really means letting go of control, but that doesn't mean you have to let go of the vision. It's basically like putting trust into motion. And trust me, funny I'm talking about trust and I'm telling you trust me, but trust me, when that trust is earned, the results are like magic. Once you have that factory that you can truly trust with your vision, especially once you see those first samples, and then of course that first production comes out and it comes out exactly what you envisioned it, so now they've earned your trust and your respect. That partnership is unbreakable at that point, because now you know that your ideas and your visions are endless, because you know that you can put in their hands and they're going to deliver every single time. But that first step is letting go of that control and giving it over to them. If you don't take that leap, you won't be able to experience that magic. Like they say, no risk, no reward. When I first went searching for my factories, I went to a sourcing show, which is how I found 2 of my factories. Another one of my factories I actually found on LinkedIn, and I think another one I found online as well, but not LinkedIn. It was on a sourcing platform, which if you want to learn how to actually source out your factories, just let me know down in the comments and I'll do a video walking you through the different platforms and the different ways to find those factories. But I went to this sourcing show and I walked that floor, I think 2 days I went, 2 or 3 days, and I walked that floor just looking for the right factories. Now I talked to several different factories, but I'm going to tell you about 4 of them and which ones I went with and which ones I didn't go with and why I didn't. So the first one I went to was one that I walked up to. They didn't really greet me. I technically greeted them at their own stand. They all kind of looked at each other deciding who was actually going to talk to me, because there was 3 of them standing at their booth. So I just walked up and said hello to all of them because no one really wanted to walk up to me. And I told them what I was looking for. I showed them my portfolio because I had all my designs in there, and I talked about, my needs. They didn't really want to talk to me. They didn't really seem interested. I did tell them that I was a new brand and what my potential was if they were to work with me. And let me just tell you, number 1, they were crossed off my list. That was not someone I was going to work with, because first impression is everything. So if you don't want to talk to me that first time around, I can already see it's like you're basically judging me. You know that I'm new. You're not interested in working with me from the get-go. I'm not even going to proceed forward with this, because I'll probably be one of those brands where that email is going to sit in your inbox until you are desperate looking for business. So you'll then pull it and want to talk to me then because you just need money. But if you got clients right now that are sending you work and they're bigger brands, you're going to focus on them and completely ignore me. So number 1 was out. Number 2, this booth that I went to, I actually had met them on one of the platforms that I was using, but I didn't realize it until I started talking to the girl. When I was talking to her, there were 2 people at this booth, and they were super welcoming, very sweet, excited to work with me. We sat there with my portfolio flipping through it. Now you guys know I work in multiple categories. So I have denim, I had sweaters at the time because I believe this was fall collection. I had outerwear, I had dresses, I had basics. It was a long portfolio, ton of styles. Of course, I didn't produce them all in the beginning, but that was just my excitement, creating a bunch of different things like I always do. They were super excited to work with me. They wanted me to send them all my tech packs. They're like, yeah, we can do this, we can do that, we can do all of these. She even started giving me an idea of pricing. Their pricing was good, it was in my range. They were going to charge me for samples. The fee was kind of high, but I was willing to pay it since it applied to the production cost if I produced that style with them. Anything that got dropped, I would just lose the money on the samples, but that was okay. But she's super excited. So that sounds like someone that you would work with, right? Because they're very welcoming and they're telling you they can do everything. They're telling you everything you want to hear. You're gonna go with them, right? Well, I didn't. I did not go with them. They were crossed off the list. And I'm going to tell you why. I crossed them off the list because, like I mentioned to you, if you didn't catch that, I had different categories. There was denim, there were sweaters, there was outerwear, there were dresses, there was basic, there was sportswear. I had different categories across the board. Now, the reason I didn't go with them is because I noticed the products that they had on their stand. They were all pretty much the same. Everything at their booth was in pretty much the same category. They had nothing to show that they can do these other categories. So for you to tell me, yes, you can do all this, yet you can't show me that work, I can tell you're just a yes man and you're telling me whatever it is I want to hear just to gain my business, and I'm going to be disappointed when I see this production. Or either you're going to go outsource all of this. Now, the pricing was right in the beginning, but I've seen some factories where they'll give me that price in the beginning and then later on there will be upcharges, and more than likely it's because they've outsourced it and they estimated the pricing wrong, so now there's increases. So factory number 2 I did not go with. As nice as they were, as welcoming as they were, and they told me everything I wanted to hear, I didn't feel comfortable with it because I want someone that's going to be honest with me. If you can't do it, don't say you can do it. Just tell me no. Or if you're going to outsource it, at least let me know that you're outsourcing that portion. And I did later on follow up with them, and I did question if they would be outsourcing. At first she told me no, and then her story changed to yes. So it's like she confirmed what I already knew. You're not going to be transparent with me. You're just going to tell me what I want to hear. Factory number 2 was a no. Factory number 3, they seemed a little standoffish in the beginning, but there was one person particularly that came and greeted me. I think the other ones were just tired because at that point I think it was day 2 of the show, and it was towards the end of the day when I found them. So they were, I think, more focused on trying to pack up because it was time to end the show, and I just walked into their booth. But one person did come and greet me. She was really nice. We sat down, we went through my design. She told me what she was able to do and what she wasn't able to do. She told me how long she can do it. She told me their MOQs. She told me their pricing. She gave me all the information I needed. She was very open and honest about everything as we went through every design. She even told me, girl, this is a lot. And it's like, I know it's a lot. I over designed, and then I just went to see, and then I told her based off what I can see in their booth, I feel like these are the designs that you'll be able to do. She agreed with what she can do, what she couldn't. She promised me free samples, but I did pay the shipping on it. She told me because I had so much that even though there were maybe about 20 styles that they were able to do, she's like, I'll sample 4 of them for you for free, and it's just so you can see your quality, and then I'll send those samples to you, and then if you like the quality and you want to proceed with the other ones, we can sample those. So I proceeded with their sampling process. I received their 4 samples. I actually have my bin right here of my original samples because I keep those. It's like my treasures. I can't let those go. Those are those memories from the very beginning of Nouveau Riche Apparel. Well, Nouveau Riche Apparel wholesale, because I did do a boutique in the beginning. So I'm going to show you those samples that she produced. This one's not hers. Let me see. I think this one's hers. So this one you guys have probably already seen. It even still has the sample tag on it. This one I'm sure you've seen with this set. I talk about it often. This was one of theirs. Actually, I should start with saying before I even got the sample, she sent me swatch cards of the fabrics. She sent me the fabric dyes to make sure she got my colors right, because I created my own custom colors and I wanted my fabrics to be dyed the colors that I wanted. So that lets you know they were able to do custom fabrics. They didn't own the fabric mill, but they were partnered with a specific fabric mill that pretty much did only their work. So I was able to get all my own custom fabrics. My threads I was able to get dyed to match. This is actually the tech pack you guys have seen and in the making as well. It was for this item. So my threads were to be dyed to match. They did that. So this was one of the samples. Fabric amazing, super soft, has a beautiful drape to it. Loved it when they sent me these fabric swatches and the dyes for them. That was one of them. This one is another one of their samples, which is one of my favorite jumpsuits. I absolutely love this jumpsuit. Remember I told you I made the rookie mistake of putting the wrong measurements in a tech pack, and then I told them to fix it for me, but it didn't come out fitting as quite like I wanted to. It was this garment. This one, I don't know if you can tell, like the waist part of it was way too big, and then like this, it went small. So this fit was a little off. I think they thought I wanted like a drop waist, but I didn't. So this was the one that I did wrong, that I had to end up correcting the specs on it. This one is another jumpsuit. This one was really cute too. This one was spaghetti strap jumpsuit. So a little different look than the other one because the green one was like a utility type jumpsuit. This was more dressy. And then there was this trench. Sorry, they're all wrinkled because they've been folded up in this bin. This was supposed to have the strap. They did forget the strap for it, but they sent me the sample. It was like a maxi. It's a maxi like cardigan, long sleeve. And if you notice, all of these are in the same fabric because that's what they specialized in. So she kept it honest with me of what they can do because these were their specialties. So do you think I went with them or no? Of course I did. The samples came out amazing. The fabric was amazing. Their turnaround time, I think I got the samples within like a week of me sending them the tech packs. They fixed my tech packs for me when I had measurements wrong. They asked questions along the way as they were reviewing my tech packs. She kept me up to date in the process. So this factory was a definite yes for me. I absolutely love them. And then there's some other samples in here that I produced, but those are other factories. Those aren't one of the 4 that I'm telling you about right now, but those are other factories. If you want to know more about my factories, I can tell you about those too, about those factories. But there's one more factory I want to tell you, factory number 4, which I don't have their samples out here. Let me go get them. So for factory number 4 is my LinkedIn factory. They are the ones I somehow came across on LinkedIn. Don't ask me how, but you can find a lot of them on LinkedIn too. After having a conversation with the gentleman that owned this factory, he owned a very small factory. They're very new. I think I was their first client, to be honest with you. So I didn't really have much to go off of here, but this man was hungry. He was eager to show me his capabilities. He even promised all the samples for free. He even paid the shipping to ship them to me. The one thing he asked from me was that I send him the fabric that I wanted because he's a new factory. He just has a factory to sew. He doesn't own a fabric mill, but he can source the fabrics for me. He also asked me for a sample of my fit. Even though I did send him a tech pack with the measurements, he asked for that sample of the fit that I wanted so that way he can make sure to get my fit right. So I sent him a sample. I sent him a fabric swatch too. Actually, the sample was a fabric as well, but I sent like a leg of a denim because this is my denim factory, and I sent him the full sample for fitting. Once he received my samples, he took maybe a week or 2, and I got back 3 denim samples. The first one was a skinny jean that had the destruction because I wanted to see how his destruction came out. This one I believe was a low rise or mid rise. I think that one's mid rise. I sent him a flare because I wanted to see how he can do with the different leg openings. And this fabric is a stretchy denim because that's what I wanted at that time. Okay, yeah, so that one's mid rise because then this one is like my ultra high rise with multiple buttons. This one was also a skinny because that's what was in at that time and it had minimal destruction on it. And I sent him that one and he delivered back those samples. Fit was a little off. Fabric wasn't as heavy as I wanted it, but it did have that stretch. And this man, I mean, he was so eager to get it right, he was willing to do it again. And of course, free of cost to me. He wanted my samples to come out right because he wanted the business. So factory number 4, I definitely went with because he was new. So his focus was strictly on me and making sure I got my stuff right, which means my turnaround was fast because he was eager to earn my business. He was hungry. So I knew that whatever I sent him, he was going to do what he needed to do to get it right and get it on time because he was so hungry to establish his business. He was going to do what was necessary for me. So factory number 4 I went with. So I gave you 2 examples of what I did not go with, and I gave you 2 of what I went with, and I gave you my reasons why. If you're like me, take it from my experience and know who to go with, who not. Of course, I've had a factory that I've had them produce samples for me and they just didn't come out good at all. I just took the losses on those samples and I left them alone. You're going to find good ones. You're going to find not so good ones. Look for those clues in the beginning of who to go with, who not to go with. Even if you do like me and you sample with them, they don't come out good, drop them then. But you will find those good ones, even if it's at the last second right before the show was closing or you randomly stumble upon them on LinkedIn. You're going to find your right factory. You just have to make sure you find what works for you. Whether you're working with Riche Stitch or you're still searching for the right partner, don't compromise. Make sure you ask a lot of questions. Set the expectations of what it is that you're looking for, be honest, and then look for that alignment, because not every factory is going to align with your vision. And don't look at alignment just for your vision, but look at alignment in values. And of course, pricing too. But again, don't just think about pricing. Sometimes you gotta pay to play. So now that you've done all your sourcing and you found your factories, I want to give you some questions that you should challenge your factory on. Well, not challenge them, but question them on these things. Think of finding a new factory as like interviewing someone. You're hiring new staff. Your factory is your new staff. So you need to interview them to make sure they are the right fit for you. So in that interview process, start out with talking about the factory background. Get ready to take notes, screen record, whatever you need to do, because you're going to want to use these questions. So start out with the factory background. How long have they been in business? Who are their main clients? Get to know their company, because it'll kind of give you an understanding of what they're capable of. Just because they're new doesn't mean they're not capable. As you can see, I found a new one that I didn't know anything about, didn't have any reviews on it, but I took the chance and it turned out amazing for me. But still understand who they are. With that new one that I found, he showed me he was hungry. So even though he didn't have the reputation to back up his work, he had the confidence. He was eager to show, and he was willing to do whatever to make it happen. But still get to know about their background. 2, question their capabilities and their services. So find out the type of garments they specialize in. Are they strictly denim? Are they strictly tencel or like linen fabrics? Can they do a range of fabrics, but do they have something to show you that they can do those ranges? Because not everyone can. Question their services, like are they full service? Can they create tech packs and sketches for you? Do they have a design team available to you? Do they own a fabric mill or partnered with a fabric mill? Do they offer printing services? Find out all their capabilities so you know if you can do everything under one roof, or if you have to do multiple interviews with different places to make sure all your garments are complete. Question their MOQs. That's going to be a huge one for a lot of you just starting out. You need to know their minimums. I don't always lead with the questions of minimums because it may scare off some factories, especially ones that are very seasoned and work with big brands, but you still need to know it is okay for you to question that. Question if they have pattern making services. Do they actually have pattern makers in-house, or is that outsourced? Do they have a sample room in-house or outsourced? Because there are some factories, especially smaller ones, that will have other factories produce their samples for them and then they make the production. But you don't want to fall a fool to that, because samples done by another factory doesn't mean your production is going to come out that way. Your samples can look amazing and then production horrible. So find out if they have their own sample room or how their samples are produced. Question their quality standards and measurements for that. So QC measures. What are they doing to maintain quality control? Do they actually do any type of quality control? Know what's going on there so you know what's being shipped out to you before it's actually shipped out. Question their defective products process. So what are they doing if some of their production doesn't come right, and let's say they do have QC and they find some products are defective? What is their process there? A lot of times it'll be written in your agreement that you have a certain defective allowance. Some don't have that at all, which that's something you and I probably should talk about before you start working with these factories, to make sure you do have that included in your contract and what the standard is. So if that's something you need help with, as far as the terms you should negotiate in your contract, definitely let me know in the comments. I'll do a video on that too, talking about contracting and what you will find in your contracts, what you should look for in the contracts, because that defective allowance you'll want in there. Then go into pricing and payments. Get an average price range. A good factory can tell you a price range of products that they produce even if they don't have your tech packs yet, or they can give you an idea just off a sketch and fabric type you want. It'll be average, it'll be a range. Doesn't mean that's the definite price, but to give you an idea so you know if they're within your price point. So basically you're trying to find out if they're like low, mid, or high tier. Like, are they high-end luxury designer type of factory? Or are they on the low end of fast fashion, or somewhere in the middle? Understand their pricing structure and their payment terms. Like, do you have to do a deposit up front? Do you have to pay in full, full upfront? If it is a deposit, when do you pay the remaining balance? Again, this is something that can be negotiating your contract, and most will go into this at the contracting phase, but you can kind of get an idea from them in the beginning to know what you're paying for. Like example, samples. Are you paying for samples up front? If you do pay for the samples, will that cost be applied to your production, or payment for samples completely separate? Also find out, for those of you that are doing small quantities, is there an extra fee for small orders? Because there are some factories that will charge you for that, because they may actually have a minimum but will be open to working with smaller brands. So let's say their minimum is 200 pieces, but you only need 20 pieces. They may say okay to doing the 20 pieces, but then they're going to tack on a small order fee. So find out if there is a fee for that. Next, you're going to go into their production and lead times. What's the lead time for samples? What's the lead time for production? Because those are going to be different. Do they offer rush orders? And if there's a fee for rush orders? And what's the turnaround time if you were to do a rush order? Ask questions to find out how they handle supply chain issues, or like fabric delays. So if a fabric's delayed and then it delays your production, how are those things handled by their factory? Next, you're going to go into logistics and shipping, especially if you're importing. So who handles the shipping? Do they handle it or do you handle it? Because I've had some factories where I handled my own shipping. I had some that will do it themselves. Question their location in their nearest port if they are international and you'll be importing from another country. I had a factory where they were kind of in between two ports. The main port, of course, I paid more if I shipped out of there, but there was another smaller port that I can ship from, and it saved me money. It took a little longer, but it saved me money. Also find out if they create those exporting documents. I've had some factories that will create it for me. Those are usually the ones that handle their own shipping. I have some that didn't create them for me, and that was because I handled my shipping. But I also had a factory that still created my export documents for me, even though I handled my own shipping. They would just send the documents to me. So find out who's creating those documents for you. You also want to question things about communication. This can be at the very beginning or towards the end of your interview, but find out who your main point of contact will be. Find out the best way and time to reach them. If they're international, you might be doing WhatsApp, WeChat for China. You might be just strictly doing email. You can do Zoom or like Teams calls, because they will do video calls. If you're domestic, you have phone calls, and then you have the rest of the above that are already listed. And find out the best time. If they're international, they're going to be in a different time zone. Domestic, they may be on your timing, but they still can be in a different time zone too. So find out like their business hours when they work. Next, you'll find out the best ways to get updates on your production. Nowadays, there are some factories that have their own portals. You may be able to get updates from your portals. Hint, Riche. Not all factories have portals, especially if you're working international. They're not going to be that far advanced. It'll mainly be by email, or you can set up like weekly calls or monthly calls for updates. You have to find out their method of providing you those updates. When I worked with China, we always had our calls, our team calls that we set up weekly for updates. Like I just mentioned, Riche, they have a portal, so I can get the updates from there, or I can do calls, whether it's video call or just over the phone. Or it could be emails. They'll just send you email updates of where they are. There's different methods, so just find out what's the best method for them, but you can also communicate what's best for you too, so you can come to a common ground. And then find out if there's a confidentiality agreement, an NDA. You want to make sure your information is secure and is not being shared with others. Find out what they actually protect and what they do not protect, because certain things they may not protect, especially when working in other countries. Doesn't mean you have to sign one at this phase, but you just want to know and have that security that your information is protected. And then one more category to interview them on, and that's risk management. So talk about late production. What happens if production's late and how that's going to be handled, which I can give you some tips on how to handle that if you need that. But find out how they handle late production. Remember, this is an interview, so let them answer first before you tell them what you need. Find out about their return and remake policy. So if something goes wrong, whether it's on their end or your end, what's the process for that? And find out about disputes too, because sometimes you're going to have something that goes wrong and they're going to feel like they didn't do it wrong. You're going to feel like you didn't do it wrong. So find out how disputes are going to be handled and what's the process for that. There's so many more questions I can give you on what to question them on, but at least start with these categories. Remember, use it like an interview process, get to know them, and then determine if you want to hire them or not. But make sure you ask as many questions as you can. A manufacturer should make you feel empowered. You shouldn't feel overwhelmed when you start working with a manufacturer. So if you feel overwhelmed and you don't feel that support, you might not have the right partner. But you'll know you have that right partner when you feel excited after you talk to them. And they're like encouraging you to go, and they're excited too to actually produce this for you. You kind of feel that sense of ease once you do hand it over to them, because you know that, okay, you're starting to let go of that control. You'll know the feeling when it's right. A friend once told me to hire people that work like me. We were having a conversation about hiring and how hard it is to actually hire people, and you don't realize it until you are the one searching for employees. It can actually be really hard to find good employees. Same thing can come with finding the right factory. It can be really hard, but use that same advice. Hire people that work like you. So if you know you're very structured and you are one to create to-do lists, you have deadlines, you try to meet goals, hire people that work that way versus those that do everything last minute. They work better under pressure and kind of procrastinate all the time and then do everything last minute. That may not work for you because you'll be looking for updates and they have nothing to give you because they do it at the last hour. You want to find people that work more like you to make sure you align with them and you can partner with them. I already went through 4 examples of factories and how I determined who worked for me and who didn't. When I found the new factory that was really hungry, I knew he was for me. I also was new and I was hungry, so it's like he aligned with me. That's why I was willing to take that risk with him. When I found this factory, I'm always a transparent person. They were very transparent with me from the beginning. I knew they would be it. And then when I got the samples from them, that excitement really just like overjoyed, because not only did I feel it when I first met with them, the samples also turned out amazing too. They may not have been perfect, but they were good. I liked them, so I knew I can work with them, and then they just continued to deliver. Especially like this factory, who was willing to fix my mistakes and everything. And you just feel it and you know you found the right people. So make sure you're finding people that align with you. Hire people that work like you. I needed transparency. I needed someone hungry because both were like me. Choosing the right manufacturer isn't the end, it's the beginning. Season 26 is officially in motion. We are almost at the sampling phase, which is another exciting step in the process. Seeing your designs come to life is just like pure joy. Make sure you watch Riche channel and learn the whole manufacturing process there. Plus, Riche is going to start telling you more about their services. I know I've been spilling a lot of their secrets, but I'm done now. I can't keep spilling their secrets. So make sure you subscribe to Riche channel, where you'll learn more about the manufacturing process for those of you that are considering or already in the process of producing your own clothing line.